episode of the Golden Nuggets podcast. Hanafi here, and as usual, I have the main host of the show, Amin Bashiruddin.
Yo.
And today, we have a guest that we kind of like actually have, but not really on our show. It's somewhat similar. It's called The Big Pivot, if you guys have seen it. We have someone who Nazrin and Ami has actually interviewed prior. And I guess she's been in the media industry like forever. Sorry if I'm making you sound very old. She's been in the journalism industry for 15 years. Presenting to you guys, Hidayah Salamat. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Interesting intro.
So, Hidayah, for our listeners who don't know you, can you share a bit more about yourself?
I have been in the media industry for about 30 years.
30 years.
30 years.
So there have been some gap years in between, obviously, but I was in the media industry. I was working professionally since I was 8 or 9 years old. I was in Bengkel Kanak-Kanak. I went through the workshop, and then eventually I was selected to join that batch of Aksi Mak Yoyo. Kind of like Calafare. Everybody mistakes me for the cat.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because I look like a cat, but I'm not the cat. And also I featured quite a bit, like as we advanced, how they would do adaptations of the folklore stories like Piramli and all of that. So there would be special episodes where I would play. There was once I played Margina, who is the servant of Alibaba.
Okay.
Alibaba or Kasim Baba, I can't remember, but it's one of the babas. So Margina is the servant who kind of outsmarts Kasim Baba.
Okay.
And after that, I had the pleasure of acting in a veteran director Nadi Putra's drama. I played so the main female character, the female protagonist was played by Kak Rita Zahara. And I think Abang Sharil was also in the show, and I played Kak Rita's younger self.
Okay.
She was a female character who was blind, and I played that scene. How she got blind was she was abused by her stepmom. Her stepmom slammed her against a mirror, and then the broken glass got into her eyes.
Yeah.
So that was my last drama before my mom pulled me out of the scene to focus on my studies. But very, very quickly, I decided media was what I wanted to do. So I went to JC for first 5 months, and then I dropped out secretly to go to Ngian Mescom. And then
Why Ngian Mescom?
That was the best mass communication program at the time. None of the local universities were offering something similar. NTU's comms degree was very, very new at the time. So I thought a lot about it. I spoke to my teachers, and they encouraged me. My lecturers actually encouraged me. So this was during SARS. I registered, I applied secretly, and then the matriculation package got mailed to my home, and that's how my parents found out that I dropped out of JC after working so hard. But anyway, it's not easy to get into Ngian Mescom at that time. So from then on, I've been working while studying, and until 2023, when I came full circle from SBC, Singapore Broadcasting Corporation. I I left MediaCorp. So SBC, TCS, MediaCorp. Yeah. That's
So you see the entire transition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. SBC, yeah. Because it's SBC.
Forever.
Because honestly, I don't remember SBC. I only remember
Really?
TCS. Yeah.
SBC
Which
is that
year
logo
was-
with the...
Which year was the transition from SBC to TCS?
I can't really remember, but I am 39. So
So it shouldn't be that.
I was 9 when it was
1990
SBC.
something,
Yeah, but very
So
fast.
I
I
was
think
6.
I was still acting when it was TCS. I was still acting when it was TCS.
Okay. So your parents pulled you out from acting to actually pursue your studies. Do they have anything in mind for you? Like, did they like clearly tell you like what kind of career path they are suggesting for you to go?
No. The thing is, one of the reasons is not just focus on my studies or what. Um, my parents saw my talent and encouraged it. But my mom followed me through almost every shoot lah.
Okay.
That she could. And there were many hours. Usually, it's a lot of waiting time lah,
Yeah.
because you don't. Especially if you're caliphate, right? I still remember I was one of the anak-anak gegasi, the
Okay.
folklore. So that one is like we had 13 hours shoot. Most of it I studied. I spent time studying, and then I would come back at 3 a.m. that kind of thing. So but she noticed certain things about some people's behaviors. She
Okay.
noticed people. She would overhear people criticizing me.
Oh.
She protected me from all of it lah.
Uh-huh.
When I couldn't understand art direction, okay, I didn't realize at the time that I am on the spectrum, and so there were certain things I didn't understand, like what are you trying to get me to do. That drama that I told you about, I only really cried genuinely because I was terrified, and then that's how they got the scene. Before that, I couldn't cry. Like I don't understand why you're making me cry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was 9. At the time I was 10.
Yeah.
10, 11. I was like, I don't know why. And then she overheard someone talking bad about me, calling me stupid lah, slow. And when she told me that, she was like, I don't want you to be exposed to this at such a young age.
Okay.
And then it's time for you to focus on your studies lah, because it
Studies,
was
yeah.
already PSLE.
Okay. Okay.
We were still using home phones at that time.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So
of
it
course.
was ringing, betul-betul ringing. By then, I was getting recognized in public. I was a bit scared lah.
Yeah.
And my mom literally had to put the phone off the hook
Uh-huh.
for several weeks until the call stopped coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, then
So-
that's how I fell off the radar.
Oh, okay. So basically, like, that's one of the ways for her to totally get you out of the media scene
Yeah.
at that point of time.
Yeah, because that was the only way to contact us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Nowadays, easier.
Yeah.
That's why nowadays kids also more,
Yes.
much
very
more issues lah.
dangerous. Very. Even that was dangerous. Can you imagine now? There are so many entry
Yeah.
points.
Yes,
It's very
yes.
dangerous.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
You deciding to pursue mass comm, right? Like, first of all, how tough was it? Because I know that mass comm is not an easy course to get in. So I believe you did very well in school. And also, do you think mass comm really prepares you for your career in the media scene? Because a lot of courses out there, it don't really prepare you for the working world. But what about mass comm?
At that time, I would say, I'm one of those lucky people. I'm either an early adopter or I am the last person to enjoy that nostalgic experience. So, like I said, with Aksimat Yoyo, I was the last batch. After that, no more Aksimat Yoyo.
Yeah.
With Nian, I think when I was there was when the prime was still prime.
Okay.
And then after that, it changed. The landscape changed, and then the whole digitalization and all of that. But I felt like, okay, first of all, my parents did not have a say. They didn't really say, you need to be this, you need to be that. I made my own decisions at a very, very young age. I already knew at the age of 12, I want to be like this, I want to be like that. I had decided between two paths in my early teens, either be a lawyer or be a journalist or be like a writer, author. Then I got this like self-righteousness thing,
Okay.
if I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be torn between like who I want to
Yes.
defend and all that. Journalists report facts, report truth. Also an ideal that I realize is not
Yeah.
quite the case.
Because it always depends on the narrative
Yeah,
you want to
especially
push, right?
if you are corporate,
Yeah.
there is a certain system, right? So
Yeah.
it may be it may not really be journalism, but that's how I chose that path of journalism lah. And eventually that's also how I convinced my parents lah. It's just that they wish that I had gone to local uni because then, to them it's like easy path for you to get jobs and whatever.
Yeah.
And I admit I struggled, but mass comm really taught us about work, like how to really work.
Okay.
That's why I can tell you that while I was studying, we were all working. While we were studying, we were all working. You don't really see that in the JC scene, not at least not at that time. JC, you study means you study.
Yeah.
And anyway, once you graduate your A level, you apparently cannot do anything with your
Yes,
cert, so
correct.
you must go to uni. So in poly, all of us were working part time, one way or another, whether it is F&B or what. So it really was like industry, like you are industry trained. And your early internships, like even before your time to do your internship, people were already doing internships already.
Yeah.
So it's really like a working, like you see like the startup, like all the startup places like Block 71. Yeah, that was the kind of environment when I was at Ngee
Ah, okay. And share with us, how is the day and life of a journalist?
It depends on what kind of journalist you are.
Yeah.
Say, for example, a mainstream journalist. There are so many kinds of journalists, even in a mainstream company.
Yeah.
It really depends on whether you're. So I was a breaking news producer. I was a breaking news producer for the first few years of my career at MediaCorp.
That's a lot of work.
Oh,
Because you need to really keep up with the news,
yeah.
what's going on.
bro,
The latest updates.
that is below minimum. I'll give you one example. Before AI covering elections, I was the only effectively Malay bilingual person on my team. GE rallies, I had to not just live transcribe, I had to live translate
Wow, okay.
speeches. So we developed things like chronic gastritis, bladder issues. We even discussed wearing like diapers
Okay.
because like we literally had someone stand behind us and be like, okay, you take over, I need to go toilet. Then we take over, like, musical chairs.
Yeah.
Imagine, and like rallies go on for hours and
Correct.
hours and
Yes,
hours.
yeah.
So this guy, like, so many that time WhatsApp groups, like so many, like and all of them GE, this rally, this party, this party. So wow. I cannot.
Like human AI.
Yeah.
Translate
yes,
and
yes,
Translate
transcribe
and
at the
transcribe, yeah.
Yes,
How
and
do you
okay,
do
for
that, man?
example lah, at that time lah, I don't know about now. I don't know whether people care that much anymore. But every time COE comes out at about 3:30 p.m., it's breaking news, bro.
Yeah.
So we had to be ready to do all the calculations and whatever, and send out the app first to send the app notification for COE. So like you dreaded that, yeah. It's like you make a mistake.
That's
Or
it, 'cause everybody gonna receive that.
and everybody gonna receive, yes,
Yeah.
but everybody in the office will have received the notification and seen it, and it's like you really have to have thick skin, If you want to last, you have to be like, yeah, okay, I made a mistake. If you beat yourself up, that was when I really learned, like, wow, resilience. For my first few years, every single night I would go. I used to live at Elias area in Pasir Ris.
yeah.
Go to Elias small basketball court and cry on the bench. Then go back home.
Wow. Okay. But but why do you stay then? Like, yes, resilience. Yes, perhaps it's the trait that it's in you. But why do you stay for 30 years?
I mean, you enjoy it, but I don't know if it's that passion is still.
You see, the art itself, the work itself is very meaningful. But who you do it for and how you do it affects it. So again, I think Hanafi, you mentioned your niyat and all of that, right? So I still identify as a journalist, but how I do it now is different. How I approach it now is different from back when I was at MediaCorp.
Yeah.
Back when I was at Coconuts, I helped to set up the Singapore office for Coconuts Media. This was when alternative media was rising. Is about the same time Rise was not around yet, I think. So Rise, right? Ilyas, Rice's
Yeah.
editor, was actually my colleague.
Okay.
So I was managing editor at the time, and then he came in, and then before that I was doing print lifestyle publication. So people in my era might remember IS magazine.
Okay.
It was like a F&B dining, a very indie nightlife and all of that. So it was a free magazine, but because the ads, it was like a
Yep.
free magazine at Zouk, free magazine at all the restaurants and all of that. So we were gaining a lot of money in ads. And then we also did Wear magazine, which was a tourism magazine that is placed at Changi Airport and all of that. So in every company that I worked in, it's a different kind of journalism. So right now, and then when it came to a point where I could no longer relate to the purpose, then I decided, okay, it's time for me to take a step back and see where to go next.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your purpose back then and what's your purpose now?
Purpose back then, MediaCorp was I nak kahwin.
Okay.
And I wanted stable income, and I also wanted to kind of like be in an organization where I would be exposed to so many challenges that I would be learning while I was still able to. At that time I was 26, 27. So before that I was with a media startup, and then before that I was with a private foreign owned indie company publishing print. And then now going into digital, I wanted to be part of the team that goes into the digitalization era. So I was in CNA Digital, and we were like, I can't remember, I think something like 20-man team. So very, very small. Now we are in the hundreds. Now they are
Okay,
in the
wow.
hundreds.
That's
so
huge.
so
Yeah,
it was such a privilege to have come in at a point where
You were starting
we
out.
established. I was part of the team that established the team that is now existing, and
Yeah.
it gave me so much purpose. And I have a history of chronic anxiety and depression, but during that time I almost never felt it, because I felt like I was really fulfilling something, doing very important work. And then of course I was going to get married, so then the stable income and all of that really helped us get to a point where we were very comfortable in terms of like Singapore society. Yeah.
Okay. You having worked in a media startup and having worked in the mainstream media, and we have seen the budget that they get. Like I think early this year or late last year, it was announced that SPH will be getting like 900 million for 10 or 12 years, for the next 10 or 12 years. So to me, it's like that's a huge budget. But at the same time, there are a lot of small media startups. Even like us, we are considered as a media startup, right? Do you think there will be a way that all these small media startups will eventually take over mainstream media?
There is no takeover, and there is no. I discourage everyone from thinking in black and white in this kind of thing, because it's always healthy to have competition. It's also very healthy to have very highly regulated and controlled platforms. And it's also healthy to have people with new ideas come up with new things, and then eventually like stabilize it. Like that makes a healthy environment for any kind of field, even in business or whatever. So I wouldn't say like take over like right now, alternative media and mainstream media are existing harmoniously.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of okay, sure. If you are not mainstream media, then you don't get the MCI pass, right? But there are other ways to report. There are you don't have to be at all the government press conferences to get the information that you need. A good journalist will know where to find certain information that they need, or dig it up lah, one way or another. And a good journalist will have their sources and will know how to protect their sources. So yeah, I don't see it as a takeover, or like, yes, there may be a bit of a renaissance here and there, but at the end of the day, what lasts is what you build with the intention to last.
And do you think like there will be a time where mainstream media will acquire the smaller
Yeah, I was
media
just about to
companies?
ask the same.
It's already happened.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah, it's already happened.
In Singapore?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I think
Yeah, it's already happened in the last 20 years. It's already been happening. It's been happening. And that's good also, because then the younger media startups are like,
So that means I can aspire to get that small piece of that 900 million, right?
yeah. But the thing is, right? The thing is, this is
you
the
can
thing.
wish, can you?
900 million is money. That's the thing. The more money you have, the more problems you have. There is pressure, There's pressure to follow the restrictions and then hit KPIs.
Yeah.
And then you have to compete with all of these young creatives. And yes, they don't have much budget, but they're scrappy. And then they also can win the trust of the public, because unfortunately, in sometimes, like, you will have periods where there will be distrust in the government, and that leads to distrust in mainstream media. So then, like, some people will say, I don't want to give mainstream media interviews, but I will give, maybe, like, for example, with Raisa, there were people who you never see in MSM. Sometimes because MSM don't approach them, but sometimes also because they don't want, because they believe that their words will be skewed. I personally don't abide by that, so I tapped on my network, and alhamdulillah, people agreed to speak to me, and I was transparent with them at every level, and I was thanked, actually, for being transparent. Even when, say, for example, someone posted something on social media that's basically public, you can use it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I asked for permission. Can I put this, and I'll let you know how I'm framing it, and you can let me know if it's taken out of context or whatever. Yeah, and that's why it took a long time, and they were pretty annoyed with me because they're like, "This is should be a fast story," Hidayah. And I was like, "No, I need to be objective. It's an issues piece. It's not a think piece. It's not a personal essay." Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think like a small media company can actually learn from the bigger media company?
Regulate yourself. Regulate your company. Have editorial guidelines set. Like I said, do the inner work first. Do the inner work, know your why, and then after that, create the guidelines, the systems, the etiquette. Like I mentioned, adab to me is very important. So your etiquette guidelines, your editorial style guidelines, words that you use, words you never use, how you spell certain words, how you use punctuation, how you use semicolons and em dashes. These, you don't have an editorial style guide, you don't have a media platform.
Okay. I mean, that brings you to now running Living Telling Media, right? You are now more as a consultant for especially media startups. Share with us that journey in terms of you leaving the corporate life as a whole and now starting your own thing.
Yeah. And what was the turning point that pushed you to,
Yes.
wanting to run your own ventures?
I always knew that I was enterprising. I always knew that I would one day be a business owner. I just didn't know it would happen in this way.
Okay.
In 2023, I got divorced.
Okay.
And it was, it was, wow, I did not see it coming. There's a saying, it was popularized by a divorce lawyer, but it was actually from the book by Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises. So the divorce lawyer kind of tweaked that a little bit to say divorce happens very slowly and then all at once. And I mean, the original idea from The Sun Also Rises is about bankruptcy lah. Bankruptcy, very slowly and then all at once. So that was how it happened for me. And then after that, I was still working. And then October 7 happened.
Okay.
And then I was like, and during that month, I went for Umrah. So before I went for Umrah, I actually was bedridden for 2 weeks.
Okay.
For various reasons. All of my mental health conditions kind of came back, like all at one shot. And then I actually was taking prescribed medication at that time when I was struggling with my divorce and then work. I went cold turkey because I felt ashamed for taking medication.
Okay.
And I threw out all my medication. I went cold turkey. That's the worst thing that you can do. And
How long have you been taking the medications?
and
before
by that time, I had been taking it for maybe like a month or two, but the prescription was quite heavy lah. I won't say what it is, but it was from public hospital and it was quite heavy.
What alphabet
looking-
does it start with?
I would say there was an SSRI and there was an antidepressant.
Okay.
And it was a daily combination. Of course, the doctor was like, okay, take it when you need it. But it's like, and then I realized that I was being treated for symptoms, not for the root cause.
Yep.
So then the antidepressants, especially if you go cold turkey, that one is very dangerous. It should not be done in an uncontrolled environment. If you plan to go cold turkey, you should go into rehab. But rehab is a taboo word, so you go into retreat or something. There are such places. I was actually about to register myself for rehab until something happened that triggered me, and then I decided to go cold turkey, and then I was bedridden to the point where I could only eat mashed bread, drink coconut water, mashed banana for 2 weeks, and I had started living alone by then because I already moved out of my marital home, and then my parents came to visit me, and then my mom said, "We are going for Umrah." I just wanted to let you know lah. They came to ziarah me basically because I was sick.
Okay.
And then I said, "Can I come?" And then my mom started crying. She was like, I didn't want to say. I didn't know whether you were in the right place to go. And I was thinking, this is the best time lah, because I was at a crossroads. I was like, what should I do now? Should I buy a new home? Should I stay at my job? Is it still giving me the purpose and the meaning? Maybe at that time I was like, I didn't know what to do lah. So when I went for Umrah, I was like, should I start my business? Because it seems that I can't do my job and start a side hustle or whatever, or maintain a side hustle. So I went in front of Kaabah. I was with my family, I was with my parents. So it was really hard, not that easy to kind of sneak away and do things by myself because there's a program, right?
Yeah.
So one night I just said, okay, I'm going for tahajud. I just tell you, I'm going alone because everybody is like quite tired. So Alhamdulillah, I managed to go for tahajud. I still have the video of me. It was 3 a.m. and Haram was like Arabian Nights. It was like, wow, it's
Yeah.
like really, really the city that never sleeps.
Yeah.
And then I stayed until Duha. So I prayed Salat Duha in front of the Kaaba, and then I just stood in front of the Kaaba. I stood there, I looked at the Kaaba, and I was just crying. I said, I need you to solve, like I'm at three crossroads. I cannot decide. Do I buy a house with the money that I got from my house sale? Do I stay in my job? Do I go into this relationship with this guy? And then, mashallah, I came back. My resignation was easeful. I had actually resigned before that, but then my colleagues were very caring lah. They were like, "Are you sure you want to make so many life transitions in 1 year?" They helped me back. They said, think about it. Okay, go for Umrah and then come back. And I said, okay, if I go for Umrah and then I come back and I still want to resign, you accept my resignation? They said yes. And then I came back, and then Allah made the decision for me lah. That the relationship, and then before that I was viewing houses. I think I had viewed like 10 plus places. I came back from Umrah, like there was no desire to view anymore. All three. And then the next thing I knew, it was New Year's Eve 2023, and
Okay.
it was my last day of work.
Okay.
Then I was like, okay, what do I do? I had pre-booked a trip to Seoul, to
Okay.
Korea. I go to Korea many times. So
Solo trip.
yes, it was solo trip. But then it was the date of winter, 2 weeks, 4 flights, 5 because I missed my flight home.
Okay.
35 kilos of cargo. Me, I was at that time maybe like 45, 47 kilos.
Yeah.
So imagine, so I went on that trip. It was the best trip of my life because I was in Jeju one time, and then I was just playing with my phone, like my evening routine. Jeju, like I love Jeju lah. So I was alone, and then suddenly I had these 5 seconds where I blanked out. I forgot my name. I didn't know where I was, what I was doing here, and then I started asking people, like solo travelers, like, have you ever gone through this before in your life? And then I found out it was actually there was a name for it. It is when you suddenly realize you have nobody to be responsible for, nobody to report to, and nobody to actually serve. Like, I was there as just myself, not as a wife, not as a fiance, not as a girlfriend, not as a employee, not as a friend. I was just there as me. For the first time in 37 years, I felt like free to be myself, and that's why I blanked out. It was a good thing apparently. So yeah, then that's after that was when I started to venture into my
So the main reason why you started the business is because you want to figure out who you are outside of all these other.
The main reason why I want to start businesses is because I knew this was my part of my calling. I knew it because during COVID, I had already started a side hustle. Actually, I started selling coping cards for anxiety.
Okay.
It did quite well, and my colleagues knew about it. My bosses knew about it. It's a product-based business, also nothing to do, no conflict and all of
Yeah.
that, right? I already declare. And I am an entrepreneur as well. So the reason why I also did well at CNE was also because I was always, coming up with new projects, leading new projects and stuff. So why I started a business or why I started businesses is because I always had that in me. But why I started telling media, I didn't want to start a media company. I just came out of media. I was
Yeah, I
like,
was just supposed to say.
I'm like traumatized, bro. Like, I just want to do anything but media. I was like, I wanted to find a small cafe and be a barista again. I used to be a Starbucks barista when I was in poly. And I used to be a barista for I was working at Coffee Club last time.
Okay.
There was a cafe called Cozy Cafe in front of Scott's. So I was like, I don't mind doing barista work or just like admin work or like filing or like, I don't know,
Less brain
something.
work.
Anything that does not require me to use my brain, be a volunteer librarian or part-time librarian. I just like read books and arrange them because I'm quite OCD.
Mm.
But then after that, the pressure came lah. The pressure came because rent is very expensive. I was running out of money. I had, post-divorce trauma, and also like you suddenly your whole life purpose changed. I was like spending a lot of money on like clothes, shopping, and all of this kind of thing, and never really thought about like the reality of things. Like I said, bypassing the reality lah. And I used to blame myself a lot for this, but now I don't blame myself. Like, what else was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I didn't really have a supportive community. Like nobody knew my path was very, very disruptive. Why quit your job and get divorced and all of that all in
At
1
once,
year?
yeah.
My
Yeah.
therapist specifically said, don't do this. And then I did the exact thing she told me not to say, not to do.
Never listen to your therapist.
Yeah, I never listen. That's why lah. Then after that,
This is also my advice to people. Yeah.
then after that, you just listen to yourself lah. Then after that, you scold yourself lah for it, and then after that, you learn lah.
Yeah.
So now I learn. Okay, I need to make money. So people started asking me, do you do hey, can I get a coffee chat with you? Like, okay, as a journalist, people ask me to go for coffee chat. Sure, if I got time, then you're paying. No, not really you're paying lah, but like your treat, and it's just networking, and it's also a good way to find out what's happening on the ground, right? But now that I am not getting salaried, and these are the things that people keep asking, do you do this, do you do PR, do you do this, do you do that? I was like, okay lah, I just do media lah. And then I was like, actually I started a parent company. I already knew I wanted to do something community oriented.
Okay.
So I did a solo design thinking sprint, 3 hours, to come up with my parent company name. That's Mahia. Mahia is an acronym made up of the personal values that everything, personal values, anything associated with my businesses, and then the letters MAHI stood out.
Okay.
So M for Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet. A for things like aspirational. H for Hidayah. H for honesty. A for adab. I for ihsan. I for inspirational. All these things came out, and then MAHI. So I went online and I googled it, and mashallah, the name Mahi and Mahia in various languages and cultures all had beautiful meanings, and all came together that supported my mission. So my parent company Mahia is in the business of building unapologetically ethical humanist businesses.
Okay.
So that's my mission, and the vision is to leave the world better than to leave the world a better place lah. To oversimplify a little bit, but it's also a promise to the creator. Said, if I need you to help me so that I can provide for myself sufficiently, provide for my family sufficiently, the people that I have rights over and who have rights over me, and then to sufficiently provide for anybody that comes to me for help. Because the thing that breaks my heart the most is when somebody comes to me and I cannot help them. So I say, this is my promise to you, that you provide for me and I will do this, and I will leave the world. Take me when I am penniless. By penniless, I mean I have already dispensed my my money to the correct channels, and I want to die broke. Like, no money. I don't take any money with me to the grave. All has been dispensed to the people that need it, who are still living. So that's the mission. And then telling media was a struggle, because first of all, I couldn't see how media could be ethical at that time. And then I realized that people were still going down the traditional route of like hiring. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but like hiring agencies for thousands of dollars, especially when you are a solopreneur, you don't have a lot of money, and then you think that, there's some good in hiring a PR agency. But then if you only have 10K, and then you go and spend 8K on a PR campaign, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They give you some media exposures. That's it. What? That's their promise. What? Right?
Yeah.
They give you, and some of them don't even guarantee, which I think is a better way. You
Yeah.
guarantee media exposures means
Correct.
you have some under the table access to
Yes.
whatever lah. So then it's not sustainable lah. Then
Okay.
yeah.
I think that we can talk more about the PR part because I have a lot of questions on this, but I think we take a break first before we go continue further.
Yeah, I think we'll take a pause for part 1 and then we'll continue and talk more about living telling media
Yes.
in part 2. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.